We News has been brought to you in part by Flowerline and the NLCB.
Good evening and welcome to We News on Gayelle the channel, our special blend of news with the Gayelle flavor. I'm Cindy F. Daniel. This weekend, Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar, speaking in Jamaica, said that Trinidad and Tobago could no longer be the godfather of the region. We News spoke today with international statesman Reginald Dumas about regional reactions to the PM's statement and what would prompt such a pronouncement.
It would not be fair to say that CARICOM abandoned Haiti, but it could be argued, I suppose, that CARICOM has not given the kind of continuing support to Haiti because of the collapse of this medical intervention that might have been necessary and desirable. But something has been done at the governmental level, and more has been done at the level of civil society. I think more can be done, and I was very pleased that Mrs. Persad-Bissessar said in her opening remark that Trinidad and Tobago retained its commitment to the people of Haiti.
We also asked Mr. Dumas if CARICOM was doing enough to help Haiti as they struggle to come to terms with reconstruction of the country in the aftermath of the January 12th earthquake.
We are all, including Trinidad and Tobago, small countries in this region. Most of us not very well off. Most of us quite poor, actually. And we cannot move as we would like to on our own. We must be lending money to CARICOM countries, properly spent for the benefit of your people. And this, unfortunately, has not been done. That, I hope, the government of the day now will not continue. It's a lack of transparency, it's a lack of accountability, and it's, as far as I'm concerned, totally unacceptable.
On Friday at the United Nations headquarters in New York, the General Assembly voted unanimously to launch a new agency called UN Women. It will begin its work in January, have a high-level leader, probably twice the $250 million annual budget now allocated to gender issues, and will be tasked with challenging governments on women's plights and rights. UN Women will press hard for women to have a more widespread and prominent role in politics, and also try to reduce some of the world's more glaring instances of discrimination. These include lack of access to health and education, forced marriages, rape, female circumcision, and trafficking. Diplomats at the Assembly greeted news of the new body with spontaneous applause as the decision was announced with a rap of the president's gavel. Although the UN has in the last 2 decades gone some way to being less dominated by socially conservative men, progress has been fits and starts. A 1995 agreement by 189 nations in Beijing to work towards equality put down a marker. But in the words of the UN Deputy Secretary General, Asha Rose Migaro, inequalities remain deeply entrenched in every society. While in Trinidad and Tobago, Hazel Brown of the network of NGOs hailed the UN decision.
We have high expectations of this new agency to provide the kind of foundation for advancing the human rights of women in an organized and systematic way. We are part of a coalition of women's groups and other social justice and human rights organizations that have fought for this. This was not something that came easily. It is intended to give at the highest political decision-making level of the world, appropriate attention to the issues of women and girls, because there are still serious, discrimination and disadvantage that women and girls face. In many parts of the world, women can't vote. In many parts of the world, women are killed for reasons that are described as cultural. I mean, there are grave, serious human rights challenges that women and girls have in the world still. So the entity provides a comprehensive space in which the issues related to gender equality can be dealt with. Again, I'm saying at the highest level. There will be an Under-Secretary General for Women in the UN, which we've never had before.
Women around the world confront a range of problems, both in the home and at the workplace. But what happens when there's a natural disaster? In this story, we go to Haiti, where women are playing a major role in the reconstruction of their communities and, by extension, their country.
It's a typical morning in a quake-shattered Port-au-Prince, and Sandra Guillaume, wife, mother, and heavy equipment operator, is deftly maneuvering her earth-moving machine through the cobble wreckage of this fallen city. In a country where recovery has been painstakingly slow, Gayelle and the women of the government-owned Centre National des Équipements, or CNE, are among the few success stories. Theirs are the anonymous hands that steered the dead and the dying to unmarked graves in government dump trucks, tunneled through the rubble for foreign rescue teams, and cleared roads of debris. Months after the January 12th catastrophic quake, they are helping to restore this broken nation, paving the way for its reconstruction, one toppled building at a time. In the process, they are turning heads and challenging the notion of a woman's role in this conservative society. I am lucky enough not to have lost anyone dear to my heart, Gayelle said. I always said, if God has saved my own, then it's my duty to go and help others.
Meanwhile, in the Philippines, sexual exploitation of women and girls is a growing problem. In this Al Jazeera report, we take a look at some of the challenges facing young women in that Far East state.
It's just gone 11 o'clock on a weeknight, and these women are being rounded up at their place of work. Police ask for their ages, suspecting that among the group are 3 prostituted minors. The police received a complaint about this massage parlor just days ago, but working with other government agencies and non-government organizations, they were able to corroborate the evidence and act this swiftly. Most of the young victims of such exploitation are female, and officials say it isn't uncommon for those 17 and younger to lie at first because of the shame they feel.
We found out that one of the causes why there had been a lesser number of cases being reported is that of the socio-cultural aspect, where a criminal or the perpetrator of the crime is either a family member, a father, an uncle, or close family relatives.
For 16-year-old Julia, playing the piano is a way to deal with the pain. She's lived in this government shelter since she was 10. That's when police rescued her and her then 7-year-old sister from a suspected pornography ring allegedly run by Koreans. They'd been taken there by a trusted family friend.
They asked me to strip naked, and I didn't want to because there was a video camera pointed at me. But they said I shouldn't worry because it would not be shown anywhere. I was scared. They told me I would not be able to go home if I didn't do as told.
Julia says the police came before things got any worse. She and her sister were freed, but authorities don't know for sure how many others like them are still being abused.
I don't know if they have an office.
Estimates range from a few thousand to tens of thousands.
The problem with the child sex industry, or what we call C-sex, or children in commercial sexual exploitation of children, is that it's an invisible trade. We can't really know which children are doing this. It's clandestine, it's underground.
Philippine officials say poverty and poor education contribute greatly to the problem, and they're trying to deal with it as best they can. But in this predominantly Christian country, the sexual exploitation of children remains in the shadows.
We're taking a quick break, but stay with us. When we come back, we'll talk about World Cup Meggies. Stay tuned.